When I first started protesting, nobody was talking about illegal immigration. And right now, it's on fire. You know, we got guys dying for us right now in Afghanistan. How dare we just let these guys take our citizenship as if they got it out of a Cracker Jacks box? That's not the way it is, man. You gotta love to be an American citizen. You gotta want to die for this country. 3/4 of these guys don't want to die for this country. They come here to make the money, send it home, and say adios. I'm gonna go home and live like a king now, and you can deal with the government that screwed you when I was here.
How long are you gonna do this for?
Until this stops. I don't want to see any illegal aliens getting any work on this site anymore.
All right, 6:32. It's the Only Morning Show with Anthony. We're joined in studio by filmmaker Dennis Lynch. We're going to talk to him about his adventure making a film on illegal immigration. All right, I got to start with this question, right? Your first film, King of the Hamptons, it's midlife crisis, you're a normal guy, white picket fence, I think it was even in the film. How do you get from that to then making a film about a hot political issue? Because nothing about you, your look, your appearance, your last film, nothing about you is political.
My goodness, do I need a new outfit. But you're right, I'm not political at all. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. In fact, as sad as it sounds, I've only voted once in my entire life. And that was like 20 years ago. I couldn't even tell you who I voted for. And I think the reason why is because, just being a real normal guy, I never see a candidate put forward who I think is the same thing. It's always, there's always a suit. There's always attached to an agenda.
So then how do you go from not being a political guy to then making a film about this kind of an issue, illegal immigration?
Truth be told, I'm driving out here all the time doing King of the Hamptons, filming it. And, I sing songs when they come on the radio.
Right,
ones
sure.
I like. So I'm a big Neil Diamond fan. So if there's a Neil Diamond song and it's a sunny day and I'm feeling it, I'm going in. So I turn it on and I'm singing there, saying, on the boats and on the planes, they come into America. Boom, boom, boom. They come
okay, we got it.
into
He's singing.
America.
We have listeners that we need to hold on to. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, man.
Yeah, it's okay.
So anyway, I'm at the light and I'm like, today. I'm looking at this guy and I don't know, the song and seeing this guy out there and 50 feet away from him is 100 guys, undocumented, I guess, looking for jobs at 7-Eleven. And that guy's been out there every day.
Yeah.
For years.
He doesn't miss days.
No, he's been stabbed, shot, whatever, and he still keeps it going. So I start looking at him now every day as I pass by, and I'm thinking to myself, is this the stem of the problem? Is this why everybody's hurting? No jobs, bad health, this and that. And one day, Rory and I are driving by, and there was commotion going on, and I said, you know what, get the camera out, pull over, let's grab it.
We are the most givingest country in the world. We give to everybody. We protect everybody. We go broke on this goddamn world. And yet, as soon as you speak up and say, I'm hurting, these guys don't deserve to be here, they don't deserve to be taking Americans' jobs, all of a sudden I'm a racist. And that's just not gonna cut it.
Where are all these guys going right now?
They go over to the Southampton Soup and Tire right there. That lady, she feeds them. She gives them clothes, she gives them food, and there's American taxpaying citizens that are dying out here. Ain't got a pot to pee in.
Wait, they're all going over there right
They're
now?
all going over there right now, yeah.
Like a scheduled time?
Oh, yeah, every day she does it.
11:30.
Every day. I don't care how much of a do-gooder she thinks she is. She's breaking the law. She's perpetuating all of this. The McDonald's was doing it, too. 7-Eleven, they got an order of protection against me just for protesting out on the sidewalk. I can't even go into 7-Eleven. These guys are breaking the law. It's not right here. Everybody just keeps letting them do it, too, and I don't understand how. I don't understand why.
It's like, where are the cops? These guys are standing out there and not afraid of the law whatsoever.
It's such a bizarre thing, too, because it's almost like you forget about it. Like, you think undocumented workers, there's going to be cops raiding this area all the time, but not only do they ignore it, it's become so commonplace for me, I ignore it every day on my way to work.
So that the American spirit that got us to the moon, that got us to the West Coast, we lost that years ago. If we had that, I don't think we would have an immigration problem. However, if we took away all the illegal immigrants that ever came over to America, we wouldn't have America. We came here as illegal immigrants. That's how we were founded.
This guy right here, Doesn't know his ass from deep center field, this guy. He really doesn't. He's just talking in circles, this guy. He really is.
I've seen some of the Latinos in this neighborhood are the most polite, the most respectful, the hardest working. It's the American guy who wants to go home at 3 o'clock and get drunk and is irresponsible on the job site, where these guys are going to work when an American guy doesn't want to work for that little bit of money.
That's baloney. I had 25 tax-paying American citizens working for me. The builders that used to hire me and my guys come up here to get the cheap labor, and they cut me right out of the picture. Right. Now my tax-paying American citizens aren't paying the bills anymore. Who's paying the bills? These guys? They get their checks and they send it back home. They're building brand new houses at home, and we get stuck with the bill. They're using our services in this country.
I don't know if that's really the truth. I don't have proof of that.
You think these guys, 40 people to a house, they're paying the right taxes? When 10 kids are coming from one house, they're only paying one tax bill. How is that helping our country out?
America's supposed to be the compassionate nation. We take in everybody. But they need to be given a way to say, okay, look, you're really not supposed to be here, but if you're here to help, then you know what, we need help.
You come here illegally, bye-bye. We don't want you. We don't need you.
What do you do?
What do? I do construction.
You do construction?
Yeah.
So, do you hire these guys?
No.
Oh,
Why?
come on. The things that you do to me every day.
I do that
You
because
tell me
harass
you
these
don't hire
guys.
these guys.
Do not hire them.
That's a load of rubbish.
I don't. I work.
All I knew at that point was that, wow, this system is really broken because both of these guys make sense. And I figured if we traveled the whole country and just focused on dealing with real, normal, everyday people, that, maybe we would wind up getting to the truth of where the problem is and how it is that you solve it. Some people say you may be a racist.
Well, that's an insult.
We have to film you from behind because why?
Because a lot of the people right across this fence a mile away that kill people daily.
We're adding another 60 million people over the next 20 years. How are we going to handle that?
The other thing about this film is we're really trying to go down a common sense point of view.
Which, of course, is our point of view, too.
I really want these people to be sent home.
We're talking about people here. You're talking about my mom.
I'm getting to the point now, I'm sorry, I'm starting to get pissed.
This is really ground zero for the drug trade in New York.
From a taxpayer standpoint, it's killing us.
Everybody wants to put all the blame on 12 million illegal immigrants. 12 million illegal immigrants are destroying our country.
Hey, welcome. Oh, geez, you're shooting already. Good grief. Dennis, good to see you.
Good to see you. This is Rory.
Hey, Rory, come on in.
Hey, John. Wow, this is some place, man.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. It's someplace, but wait till you see the view I got. I'm anxious to hear what you think of it.
All right.
I bought this place 12 years ago to retire. But now that I'm here, I feel like I moved to Latin America. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants living in Florida. And it's a huge drain on the economy. And I'm telling you, unless you speak Spanish in this area, you're screwed. If we don't do something about illegal immigration, the way Miami is today, that's the way our country is going to be tomorrow.
It is incredible the amount of investors buying bulk, like the whole building. They buy the whole building.
So who are your biggest customers? Where are they coming from?
Ecuador, Venezuela, Colombia, and Brazil. Those are the ones that are really purchasing every commercial real estate and residential real estate. And these properties are rented to people with low income, and you don't know who they are. Basically, one person will be the one in charge of the rental, and then they start having like other people in the property. As a matter of fact, even the biggest companies like Coldwell Banker, like Century 21, have to make all the forms in Spanish so they can understand.
Is there an agency or any organization, a legal organization, that checks apartments occasionally to see who's living there, see if they're legal or illegal? Does anybody do that?
No.
I don't like it. I mean...
How long have you lived around here?
I was born and raised here.
So you've seen some changes?
Mm-hmm.
I
grew up right here.
The old neighborhood ain't what it used to be?
You know, I mean, we're inundated with you know, the immigration, but I don't know what to do about it.
Think of the old, of the neighborhood and the way it is today.
I don't like it. It's hard to answer these questions really without sounding, you know, prejudiced.
Well, but that's the way the media paints things nowadays.
I don't know what kind of answers to give, honestly. I mean, because I really wouldn't get myself caught up in any trouble. But I do, I'm getting kind of nervous now. I can't talk on the camera.
I have an opinion on that.
What's your opinion?
Whether it's a solution or not, who knows?
Right.
I'd rather keep that to myself.
Okay.
No offense. Sorry about that. But
Isn't that sad that you're afraid to give your opinion?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I didn't speak Spanish, I wouldn't live here.
Really?
You know, why would you want to live in an area that's 90% Hispanic if you don't speak the language?
Look, occasionally does it get a little tiresome when every time you go out, it seems like the predominant voice is Spanish? Yeah.
So what happens is people see the problems that are caused by illegal immigration and legal immigration right now, and they say, could we adjust to handle this population that's here right now? And the vast majority of Americans say, I think we can. I think we can adjust to that. What they don't think about, though, is that's what you would have if you stopped all illegal immigration right now. That's not where we're staying. We're headed for something else. We're adding another 60 million people over the next 20 years. How are we going to handle that? And that's where we lack political leaders with political vision.
Being a marketing rep in, you know, Dade County, you have to speak Spanish. I was a rep that got sent up to Broward because I don't speak Spanish.
So you have to, and you live here.
Yes.
So you have to commute.
So I commute all the way from South Beach all the way up, you know, almost to Boca every day.
Every day, because you don't speak Spanish.
Yes.
How long have you been out of work?
Over 2.5 years.
And you can't get a job because you don't speak Spanish?
That's right.
And this is in the banking industry?
That's correct.
You could speak every other language in the world, but if you live here, you must speak English. Otherwise, you're a nuisance.
I've tried to work in the hotels. I've gone downtown to real estate offices. I've gone into retail stores, and they want everybody here to be bilingual, and I'm not.
And personally, it sucks big time that I have to worry about speaking another language to vote here or to get a job here. And I have been looking for a job for a long time.
I just have to do what I can to survive.
And that's working for a chiropractor at a show like this?
Anything I can do.
So have you thought about learning Spanish?
No, not really. Why should I have to learn Spanish when I have all the other qualities and experience?
Who do you blame for this?
It must be the politicians.
If we had political leaders that would go out and start talking to people about where are we headed, where do we want to be in 20 years, I think you would see the American people absolutely insist on stopping illegal immigration and on greatly reducing legal immigration.
Well, why are the politicians so disconnected?
Well, there's a bunch of reasons.
This election is about the things that we hold dear as Democrats and as Americans. It is respect for the working men and women of this state.
Historically in this country, the Democratic Party has been the party that's been more interested in redistribution, which means more government, more programs. Since immigrants arrived primarily poor, immigrants, no matter where they come from, have always voted overwhelmingly for the Democratic Party.
The next governor of the great state of Florida, Alex Sink.
So high immigration and giving amnesty to illegal aliens, Democrats see this as almost like a voter registration program.
All that question about momentum, it's out there. I'm very excited.
Ms. Sink, let me ask you a question about illegal immigration. Do you have a solution for it? And if not, do you think you deserve to be governor?
We have a candidate.
Well, I have a very strong position on immigration, and I have said that I'm frustrated that the federal government hasn't taken action. We need comprehensive immigration reform.
What's your solution?
Would you give me an opportunity to answer,
Sure, of
please?
What news organization are you from?
I'm doing a documentary.
Okay.
Let your colleagues answer.
Let's
Go
give
ahead.
them an opportunity.
How does it feel when you come
So
out?
you don't want to answer my question?
The reason why I don't vote was confirmed to me when I was down in Florida.
Well, I would like to ask you more about illegal immigration, Ms. Sink. We're just trying to get these politicians to answer questions. They don't want to answer questions.
She answered your question, sir.
Chris, will you do me a favor? Make sure this gentleman leaves the property.
I was so disappointed and so saddened by how these politicians run from this topic. They run from the topic.
They just don't want to answer the question, no matter what their stand, what their position. And if you ask the wrong questions, you're asked to leave. Here we go.
Democrats and Republicans, they are both 110% guilty.
And Republicans, they look at the campaign contributions that come from the really wealthy business groups and business people who themselves make a lot of money off of driving down the wages of Americans as well as providing cheap labor.
Okay.
I got one quick question. Solution to the problem of illegal immigration here in Florida. And if you don't have one.
Oh, I've got one. But it takes longer than 1 second. We need to take everybody to the stage this way, sir. Talk to Chad. Rick, this way. Okay. We got to go this way.
So it's not just that they get foreign workers cheaper, but the foreign workers enable the businesses to pay their American workers less. I mean, look at how the wages have collapsed in things like drywalling.
Turning the economy around, bringing the jobs so that we can have a #1 state in the country for job creation. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my partner, Rick Scott.
So you have the driving forces behind the national Republican and Democratic leadership. They have real special interest in keeping this flow going. Their interest is not long-term. Their interest is not for long-term about what happens to our grandchildren. These interests are just theirs.
We're going to win.
Jennifer, I have a quick question about immigration.
We got to go. I'm sorry.
Call us.
Nobody,
We're leaving. We love you.
nobody wants to touch it. It's the untouchable subject.
I think it's very, very important to understand what immigration was in this country years ago to truly appreciate whether or not we have lost what it was that we once incorporated as a country.
The key factor in immigration is the numbers. Almost nothing will have more impact on how you live the rest of your life in the United States than how Congress sets these numbers. But please remember that the problem is not immigrants. The problem is immigration policy and the officials who set that policy. For the 200 years, from 1770 to 1970, this country took in about 250,000 immigrants a year. But all that changed after 1970. The green that you see rising above the blue is the population growth that would have happened if Congress had not forced higher immigration, and would rise to 257 million in 2020 and then basically stabilize through 2050. Instead, in the 1970s, Congress increased immigration levels to 425,000 a year. That wasn't enough for Congress, so in 1990 they passed another big increase. And since 1990, Congress has been running immigration at more than 1 million a year, 4 times higher than the traditional level. Now, this doesn't even include the illegal immigration. The American people never asked for any of these increases. Instead of the U.S. never reaching the third 100 million, it reached the third 100 million before 2010. And for the first time in our history, the majority of our population growth came from new immigrants and the births to immigrants. Using Census Bureau projections of fertility and mortality, we will be adding our 5th 100 million in 2070 and our 6th 100 million just before the end of the century. Look around you. The people of the United States are not able to achieve the quality of life they want with 300 million people. This is not something that could be, it's not something that might be. This is something that will be if we don't change the immigration numbers. Every time in our history when we've had big spikes in legal immigration, close behind comes big spikes in illegal. Why does that happen? Because illegal immigrants don't just come here without connections. They come here because they have legal family members or legal immigrants from their village that they can live with, who can help find them underground economy jobs or maybe hire them themselves. So we've had this explosion in illegal immigration over the last 20 years because we had an explosion of legal immigration over the last 40 years. So once the economy gets strong again, we'll be right back up to 1 million a year coming new, unless Congress and the states really crack down on hiring.
Now what are you going to do with that, Tom?
I put all my information down on letter form and I sent it to the IRS and Workman's Comp. I'm tired of playing the games. I gotta pay and nobody else does? That's baloney.
I thought, hey, I was going to do it. If I was going to do it, I was going to do it right. I was going to have to go pick up a guy or 2 guys and get into their lives.
So you did this around here where you live?
Yeah.
Yes. Listen, we're making a movie about...
Let me ask you a question. Did you know that he was undocumented when you first picked him up?
No, I didn't. But I'm not going to be one of those guys who says, no, I didn't. I figured he was.
Right.
And that was the point.
You're a movie star.
Yeah.
Movie star.
When we're dealing with numbers of illegal immigrants, we are dealing with educated guesses. Our estimate of the illegal immigrant population at about 13 million is one that we came up with in 2008, and we have stuck with, even though the government has reduced its estimate down to about 11 million. And we haven't gone along with that because of the fact that the numbers are very squishy.
Let's not even come down to a number. Let's just say that there are millions of illegal immigrants in this country currently.
There are millions of people who are in this country without authority, yes.
Okay. So, you won't say the word illegally?
Illegal is a way that you describe behavior, not people. People are not illegal.
Well, you said it yourself, though, when they crossed the border.
They're clearly here without authority.
Okay. They didn't commit a crime?
That goes back to this whole lawyer problem I have, which is I don't accuse people of crimes unless they've been convicted.
How long have you been here in America?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
How much money did it cost you to get here?
Let me see, 8,000.
8,000?
8,000 for come to here.
How did you get the $8,000?
My brother say I gave you the 8,000 for.
And then you come here?
Yeah.
I used to come down on the side that, what are these people here for? They're taking my jobs, they're stealing from us, they're not paying taxes. And every time I saw a soundbite on TV, that would be my feeling. And then when I saw the whole picture, I began to see that is not the truth. Ronald Reagan used to love to say, we are a shining city on a hill. Well, I got news for you. Lights attract. We can't say we're a shining city, and at the same time, nobody wants to come here. Now, is it right that they come illegally? No, but that's not the entire story. If I was in Mexico, I'd try to get here.
Like your close family, is your close family here or in Ecuador?
In Ecuador.
Now, do you send money home to them?
So I'm sending money so every weekend from my mother.
How much money do you want to save to go home?
Maybe 60,000 or
60,000?
Yeah.
Are you going to buy a house?
So yeah, I can buy a little house. So, yeah.
So if you go home at 31 years old to Ecuador with $60,000, will you ever have to come back?
No.
You're good forever.
Yeah, I'm good forever.
You're good forever.
I don't want to come back.
You don't want to come back.
No.
You know, another big thing that we heard from people was about taxes. We will agree that if they walk down to the deli like you do and I do and we buy a Coke, that we're going to pay the extra X amount of cents on sales tax.
They're going to pay fuel taxes, they're going to pay sales taxes, they're going to pay
but income
real
taxes,
estate taxes built into their rent or directly if they own property. They're going to pay car taxes.
Okay.
They're going to pay vehicle transfer taxes. They're going to pay all kinds of taxes.
If you had more people contributing to society, into the community.
Those people aren't contributing.
They're
working, they're putting the lawns, they're doing the construction, they're doing all this stuff, but they're taking every ounce of cash
and this is a
putting it into the system.
catch-22. They don't have Social Security cards. They're not allowed to pay taxes. Right now, I got people right in my office. Right now, they come into this office. How do I pay taxes? How do I contribute? I want to contribute.
So why can't they?
How do you pay taxes if you don't have a Social Security card?
Oh, you have a bank account here?
Yeah, and
How did you get a bank account if you don't have papers? Do you have a Social Security card?
No, I don't have the Social Security, but I've had a tax number, you know.
You have a tax number?
Yeah, the tax number.
Anybody ever come after you asking you for taxes?
No.
No?
No.
I'm going to argue with you on something. I have spoke to various illegal immigrants and they say they have the ability to go get a tax identification number, so this way taxes are withheld from their paycheck.
It's certainly not something that's being promoted because remember, on the one hand, the government says you can't work. On the one hand, they're saying it's illegal for an employer to hire somebody. Oh, but by the way, you can get a tax ID.
It's very contradictory.
Yeah.
All right, now you mentioned jobs. This is an interesting thing because there's two sides to this coin, the employee and the employer.
Yeah, is it that, are they stealing jobs or are they being given jobs?
Given illegal jobs.
I don't think there is a business on earth that has more pricing pressure on it than ours. So we would have a big incentive to hire illegal labor cheaper. I could probably pay for my kids' college easier if I had a few extra bucks, but I'm not going to do it.
As an entrepreneur, do you know other business owners who hire illegals?
I'm aware of some, yeah.
Yeah?
Mhm.
What's your feeling about that?
Well, I don't like it, particularly in this economy. We have so many Americans who are out of work. Anybody that's got a business, I think, has a duty to employ people who are actually Americans. I think that if companies were heavily fined for employing illegal workers, that would probably put an end to it. But that would mean, of course, there'd have to be some enforcement out there, and I just don't see it.
So here's what you're saying. Starve them out. So now, employer, we're going to fine you. We're going to put you out of business. We're going to do whatever we can so that we don't have to spend $300 billion to get them out. They're going to just leave. What's going to happen is, who's going to pay for the children who are not being supported now by the family? We are.
Jobs Americans don't want to do. What do you mean about that?
Well, American people do not want to wash cars for a living.
One of the arguments is that Americans do not want the jobs that you offer in the warehouse.
Says who? Let me tell you this. When we have a warehousing job available here, we put an ad in 3 small little community newspapers, all right? Maybe a 3-day ad. We get 75, 100 applicants for a $10 or $12 an hour job. That's how it is out there.
When the economy was good, you didn't hear anything, very low, about what the immigrants were doing, illegal or not. They're pumping gas. They're in the fields 14 hours a day picking crops. Nobody said nothing. Now we have an economic issue. So now the issue arises.
These guys are all 40, 30, 40 years old. They're going to become citizens, and what, we're going to give them Social Security? Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Philadelphia. We get the same problem.
Oh, it's ridiculous no matter
all
where
around
you go.
every Home Depot, everywhere you go, it's the same thing.
Yes.
I call the White House, the comment line, and let them...
Yeah.
They don't care.
Of course not, but you got to keep calling. If you don't care, who's going to care?
Here's my son. Ask him why he's out of work.
And you're out of work?
Yeah, wetbacks took my job.
The country's going to go down the tubes.
Used to be America we lived in. Now we're in Guatemala.
Do you think that you're taking jobs away from Americans?
I think.
Yeah. Do you feel bad about it or no?
Yes, I feel bad.
You do feel bad. Why do you feel bad?
Because some guys being job for American guys now he can do for little money. So American guys say, okay, pay 1,000 for this job. The Spanish guys say, okay, pay me $600 or $500. I feel bad for.
You feel bad for them?
Yeah.
Why do you feel bad for them?
Because he want to work too.
So then why doesn't he do it for $600?
So he has to pay more money for the taxes or.
Would you admit that there are a significant number of illegal immigrants who do not pay the taxes that other people in that same job? If you have if you have two people working the same job, one is an American and one is not American, and would you admit that there's more Americans paying taxes than?
It's a wonderful leading question that, I'm supposed to give a yes or no answer to, but I'm not going to be able to
don't
do
ever
that.
answer yes or no. Give me a full answer.
I'm not able to. Here's the reality. I know plenty of people who work as, quote, independent contractors who don't always report all of their income. I know plenty of people.
You're answering me like a total lawyer.
I know.
Because every time I ask you a question, a question about something specific, you tell me about an American that's not doing what I'm asking.
The problems from illegal immigration are primarily because our government allows them to come, allows them to stay, allows them to hold jobs. And I blame these lobbying business groups. Those are the drivers of this corruption in our system. And to me, you cannot be more un-American than those lobbying organizations. I don't hold illegal aliens harmless, but I still say we cannot vilify and demonize the illegal aliens because they're more like that teenage boy who took advantage of the fact that I left my car unlocked and left my key in the ignition.
They're here illegally. They're having kids. They're going into the school system. But who's paying for that?
Students, we're proud of your achievements and accomplishments. But I'm sure you are a little sad because after 59 years, E.W. Bauer Elementary School is closing.
You're very emotional right now.
I went to the school.
You went to the school?
My brothers and sisters went to the school. Yeah. I was fine until I got here. Everyone was crying when I got here, so of course, now I'm crying.
Do you think the closing of the school could have been prevented?
Yes.
And if so, how?
Yeah.
We have just completed a study in the past few months of the estimated fiscal impact of illegal immigration at the national and the state and local levels that came to an aggregate amount of $113 billion a year. A majority of that expense, in the neighborhood of about 3/4, is the educational expenditures to illegal alien students, as well as the limited English proficiency education for the children that don't speak English going into the public school system.
Those numbers are, I think, wildly inflated. And a significant portion of the numbers relate to the education of kids who have birthright citizenship.
When you hear it costs $16,000 to educate children of illegal immigrants who are not paying into the system, does that, you feel like that's a factor in the closing?
Definitely. There's houses all over the place of people who rent their houses out. People who live here and rent don't pay taxes.
The law says it doesn't even matter if you sneaked into this country. It doesn't even matter if you have an illegal visa. We have to educate you. So unless the law changes, I don't have a better solution for that.
Have you seen the number of children in that situation increase, or are you starting to see that decrease?
I would say it's increasing. I mean, we very recently were told we're not allowed to even ask when we register for a Social Security number.
When you were in the 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, how many kids were in your class that were non-speaking English? Were there any?
None.
In the other schools that the children will be going to, approximately 1 in 5 students are ESL students. Do you feel like that has an effect on your child's education?
Yes. Unfortunately, they get a little more attention than mainstream children. Tutoring. When my children need help, they say, go pay for a tutor. I don't think that's the case for learning another language.
When I was teaching in the public schools, I had 25 children in my classroom. One child spoke only Spanish. I had no help with that child to help her learn English. The other children taught her English because I simply had no time and I had no experience in teaching English as a second language.
Now, isn't that a distraction, though, to the children who have to do that, or do you think that's a positive?
If funding continues to be diminished for public schools, teachers are laid off, class sizes increase as they have. With hard-to-teach students, it's going to be detrimental unless that teacher is a miracle worker.
First of all, schools are having problems irrespective of illegal immigrants. See, that's part of the problem. We should be educating our people. We should be educating them whether they're illegal or legal, because ultimately we're not going to be able to deport them all. And they're going to have an effect on our society.
But Bill, we are educating them all. If that number continues, which you said that the trend is showing that it's continuing to go higher, we have more now than we did then. When I say we as Lindenhurst, Long Island, and America, I'm asking you as an educated guy, is it safe to say we could be looking at more schools closing because their parents are not legal, they are not paying into the system?
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
We did nothing wrong. We weren't criminals. We came here as children, and all we wanted to do was go to school and have normal lives. In high school, I could never tell anyone why I couldn't get a driver's license, why I couldn't go to the Ivy League schools that my peers were going to in my AP classes.
As a helpless 5-year-old, touching the hands of my mother and father, I never dreamt of living a life entrenched in fear and shame. Neither did my parents when they uprooted my sisters and me from our quiet life in the Philippines to come to America. But for the greater part of the 17 years I lived in this country that I call home, I have been afraid. When I was 11 years old, a distant relative threatened to report my family to Immigration Services. The thought of deportation prompted my family to flee our home and leave behind everything. My parents' jobs, my school, our friends. From then on, my parents told me never to tell anyone about our status. I grew up feeling lesser than others, but my undocumented status only pushed me to work 10 times harder to prove that I matter and deserve the life my parents sacrificed to give me. To all the dreamers out there in my community, hiding out in your bedrooms, wishing with all your heart that this country would finally recognize you as an American and allow you a chance at a real future. All I can say is, you can't wish for change. My name is Carla. I'm undocumented, I'm unafraid, and I'm unapologetic.
Explain to me how it is that we pay for these kids from kindergarten up to the last day of 12th grade, and then when they graduate, we throw them under the school bus. No matter where you stand on this, I mean, how broken is this system?
Unreal.
You speak good English. How did you learn the English?
Last winter I went to the school.
Did they give you that school for free, or did you have to pay?
Nah, free.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
This is math,
right.
And I didn't go to college. And I know that if you do not put into a system as much as you take out of a system, you are going to lose.
What are you hoping that President Obama will discuss during his speech?
He hasn't done anything.
For immigration?
Yeah. I mean, when he needs the vote, they talk about migration. Now that he's the president, they just forget about it, you know? And the next year, the next president is going to talk about immigration too. He's going to want our vote, the Latin vote, and then they're going to forget again.
Do you have any way of monitoring whether or not a student is of legal or illegal status?
We do not ask that question. We do not ask that question.
Where does BOCES get its funding?
BOCES gets our funding from the state level as well as from the federal government. It can cost us in a range of, I would say, $6,000 to $8,000 per student. Now, obviously, that doesn't correlate with the registration fee that we're charging them.
How much is the registration fee?
The registration fee is $45 for the ESL students, and that covers them for the entire school year. On an annual basis, we educate about 1,800 to 2,000 students. But this past year, we've seen a dip in that enrollment.
Why do you think that dip has occurred?
That dip occurred because of the fact that there's increased in competition, because the population is doubling and multiplying by the numbers. So other people are going to attempt to provide the same service.
Why did you decide to come and take an English language class?
Have a better job.
Hold on. One at a time.
I wanted to have a better job.
The single greatest step that the United States could take to counter illegal immigration would be to get control over jobs in the United States and deny jobs to people who are in the country illegally. Because when that word goes out that you're not going to be able to find a job in the United States if you come into the country illegally, people won't come.
They want to come and be a part of who we are and what we're about.
So you really do believe that the majority of people who come here because they want to be an American?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I was to snap my fingers and you were legal, so pretend like you're legal, okay? Do any of you ever plan to go home and have full-time residence in your home country, or do you think you're here for good?
I have a plan.
You have a plan?
Yes. I watch the young people, and I think they are, what's the easy way to say jerk? Not jerk.
Jerk.
Oh, jerk. Okay. Sorry.
A jerk is a jerk.
I can't find
Yeah. I've been called one a few times.
So I don't want to make children here in this country. So I want to make money in this country and return to my country.
So then truth is that you really do not want to be an American?
No. Honestly.
I love the honesty. Why don't you want to be an American?
Because United States is not the best in the world, you know? The humanity change. Today, you pay for me. Tomorrow, my son pay for your son.
Do you have health insurance?
Yes.
And is it killing you?
Yes.
Oh, no pun intended.
Slowly. That's the worst part. It's killing me slowly.
You have a wife and a baby girl?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How old is the baby girl?
3 months.
When the baby needs to see the doctor, do you go to the emergency room?
Yeah.
One of the times that you went to the emergency room, what was wrong with the baby?
Oh, I don't know what happens. They say, I don't know.
They say, I don't know, and you just went home and she got better in a
yeah,
day or so?
Yeah, she's better.
How many times did the baby go to the hospital? One time?
Yeah, 2 times in a month.
What was the other time for?
Oh, just looking how many pounds.
Just a checkup?
Just check.
Do you have to pay for the emergency room?
No, for now, no. She get Medicare.
The baby gets Medicare?
Yeah.
Or your wife?
No, baby. My wife too.
We estimated there were about 100,000 births a year to the illegal immigrant population in this country, and that the majority of those were paid for by the American taxpayer at an average amount of about $10,000 per birth.
The thought is that they use the emergency room as their primary care physician.
So does everybody who doesn't have insurance.
Okay.
You know, cross my fingers, nothing happened to me. But last year, I got the situation, and I got to the emergency room, and the bill, it was huge amount.
We have to understand that the individuals that are not covered by insurance will use the emergency room as their first point of access to healthcare delivery. As far as the cost of immigration or undocumented care at Jackson Health System, it is about 15% of the unfunded care, which sums to about $100 million a year. And I think we're very close to where our public safety nets will break. And I think the only way that we begin to battle this is to look within our operational efficiencies. For instance, right now we have diversion programs. We have that individual which will not be treated in the emergency room at a cost of $1,500 a day, but rather will be sent to a clinic at a cost of $40 per visit. And if the undocumented are not going to go away, I definitely think that there has to be some responsibility placed on those individuals.
The problem is we don't have an avenue for illegal immigrants to contribute to the healthcare system. And I got news for you. Our healthcare system has a lot of problems. There are a lot of Americans that are not contributing. So let's not put it all on the illegal immigrant.
Okay. But the fact is, every visit that an illegal alien makes to that emergency room is a visit that shouldn't exist. In the end, that's what has been driving some of these hospitals actually into bankruptcy. We actually have some communities that no longer have their community hospital.
There are a lot of towns all throughout the country where you could start to see the change taking place. You go into certain parts of New York or in Queens, it doesn't look like the old Queens I knew.
On the left, you've got a travel agency, okay? What you're going to see is another travel agency. As we look around on both sides, what you're going to see are travel agencies, money remitters, telephone locations, places that transfer money, places that move cargo. These are all companies that are essential to the illegal alien population, but they're also custom made for the people involved in criminal activity, whether it's drug traffickers or even terrorists.
It seems to be like one after the next.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's normally you go into a neighborhood, you might find two or three travel agencies. Here you'll find dozens, and if you go up and down side streets, it keeps repeating itself. This is the drain through which America's money vanishes out of our economy.
The people who throw fastballs will say, yeah, of course you want a program where they get to stay because that's going to enrich you. I mean, what's your comment to that?
That has nothing to do with anything. I mean, believe me, lawyers can make a heck of a lot more money if they were something other than immigration attorneys. You know, how much money do you think attorneys are going to get from poor people that are trying to stay in the United States?
Okay, I'm glad you just said that,
right.
Okay? You just said poor people, right? I took a ride yesterday with a retired INS agent along Roosevelt Avenue.
Right.
I swear to you, every other building literally is either a travel agency or a wiring station. Why is there a need for people who don't necessarily have enough money to go traveling 4 or 5 times? Well, why are there so many of those stores?
I'm not sure who's going to those travel agencies. Are you keeping a record of who's going to the travel agency?
How can I keep a record of a travel agency when I don't even know who the people in my country are?
What you're looking at is the way this whole system comes together for them. The remitters are the silent partner for the guy who's washing dishes and sending home $20 a week to the drug dealer who's moving megabucks. And when you bring young men here by themselves without their wives, they wind up going to the houses of prostitution, which spring up, which leads to more exploitation and more human suffering. This is not victimless. So are we being ridiculous to simply say, well, the people can come here so they can get a better life? Yeah, $6 an hour, a better life. Could we be more stupid than that?
The cost for administration of justice costs for illegal immigrants amounts to about $9 billion a year.
What do you think is the #1 cost to America because of the lack of policy we have for illegal immigration?
Human lives, because lives are irreplaceable.
But my hopes and dreams for a wonderful future for my daughter was cut short, all because Vanessa did what she was taught. She tried to see good in an underdog. This picture was probably when she was about a year old. I love that picture of her. This was the last picture. This was taken on February 14th. She went to Valentine's Day party with her boyfriend. But I think every picture is my favorite, I guess, because I won't get any more, you know? And when my daughter left her workplace to go pick up her son from daycare, which is 10 minutes away, he asked her for a ride to his car, and the kind of girl my daughter is, you know, she agreed to give him a ride, and he pulled a knife on her. He took her behind a big department store and raped her. And then he put a bag over her head, figuring he would suffocate her, and he put her in the trunk of the car. On Fridays, everybody at work gets together and they go for drinks. And he sat there with my ex-husband. Faustino sat there having drinks with him. So apparently he went back to wherever the car was, and when he opened the trunk, Vanessa jumped out. She was still alive. He pulled the knife again, and he slit her throat over 20 times and almost decapitated her. I'm angry at the government for not protecting my daughter and me. I'm angry at the state. I'm angry at the county. I'm angry at her boss for hiring people like this. No background checks, nothing.
Most illegal immigrants are not murderers. But even so, I can't understand, why is it that this program isn't mandatory?
I would not try to explain the motives of those who are trying to protect illegal immigrants in this country. But clearly we think that it is not in the national interest to pursue policies like that.
I don't know enough about the program. I just can tell you one thing. Okay. Can you tell her it's Dennis Lynch?
Dennis Lynch?
Yes. In researching this, I found that every big advocacy group fights against E-Verify being mandatory. And I just wanted to know why. If I was missing something, I wanted that information. But the problem is that they either declined to be interviewed, stood me up for an interview, or said, yeah, we'll be interviewed, and then treat me like the boogeyman when I got there. If you can just say, he's a nice gentleman, he came a long way, he just wants to understand why it is that you would have him come all the way here and then tell him that you don't want to do the interview. I just want a short explanation. Suffice to say, I never got my answer. So long. One of the biggest problems that maybe we're not paying for so much today, but we're going to pay for in a big way years from now, is racism. You know, it's a matter of time before the real feelings inside start coming out.
So they've got a lot of cars here for a small home. In the summer, when the weather's better, it's not unusual to see large tents pitched in some of the front yards, and I don't think those tents are there because the kids are having sleepovers. I think they've got such a large number of people living in some of these small homes that they just need the extra space, and the warmer weather gives them an opportunity to spread out a little bit. I sound like I'm a KKK guy here, but facts are facts.
Why is it that states are moving towards pushing illegal immigrants out?
Well, states aren't. I mean, the first thing we have to recognize is that there are people in states, in legislatures, who are choosing to make this a huge issue. The immigrant community at large are beginning to feel attacked, unwelcome as a group.
Right, but people are sick and tired. They're sick and tired of hearing about jobs being taken. They're sick and tired of hearing about the cost of health care. They're sick and tired of hearing about education and all the crime that's being committed. They're tired of it. And so they're beginning to develop bad feelings towards these people. I include myself, but I find myself having bad feelings towards people that I encounter here and there who I think might be illegal immigrants.
Well, what are the bad feelings? I mean, like, what kind of stuff? Are you a racist?
Yeah, fuck. Turn it off. Turn it off.
It's a difficult time we're going through, and I'm very concerned about the level of animosity directed toward people who look different from you and me.
What is the most racial thing that has ever been said to you since you've been in America?
To me?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking wetback.
We got guys, coming back here twice a week, going through our dumpsters. They're all Mexican-looking dudes, you know, driving trucks with, you know, may or may not have license plates on them. Who knows where these people come from, all right?
Right.
And they're back there, they're going through the dumpsters, and occasionally we leave something out back that we don't intend to throw out, but it's outside for whatever reason, you know, and if it's not nailed down, they friggin' take it.
How do you know they're illegal?
Don't ask me how I know. I just know, okay? No, really. Don't ask me how. I'm telling you, okay? You're throwing me way off. I can't have you talking to me. So I'm not answering that question. You know what? I'm getting to the point where I'm going to tell you I can't fucking do this.
Does it hurt at all inside?
It hurts. We're all human beings, so of course it's gonna hurt.
My point, the point that I made to you, is that I think this is creating a huge amount of racism in this country.
Oh, I know, I got that.
Right?
Now I'm asking you a question.
Don't ask me any questions.
So you would prefer that we just don't film your face?
Correct.
Can I ask you, why did you feel compelled to shoot that man?
I feel he's stirring up fear and hatred of the gentleman here trying to get work. You know, they're not all criminals. They are, most of them, just looking for a day's work. Even though they're here illegally, if the government isn't going to do anything about it, then I guess they have the right to stand there. You know, maybe ICE should be called, Immigration and Customs. That's a possibility. Maybe Mr. Waddell's time would be better spent doing that.
Well, he has, and he says that nobody shows up.
Oh, I see.
American citizens are mad right now, and that's their only way to vent their frustration. They see the signs, they appreciate what I'm doing, they give me the horns. She's not happy with it. I'm very sorry, I told her already. There's a way to solve this problem. Get these guys out of here that are breaking the law, and I'll go away. You'll never see me again out of here. I don't want to be here one more day than I have to. I got kids to raise, I got kids to feed, I got no money, I'm broke. Nobody pays me one dime to be out of here.
You know, what do you think about this?
Honestly, I think I'm going to give you an answer that represents a lot of people, okay? I have a problem that I'm teaching you English, and you're leaving. You don't want to be an American. You're here for the wrong reason. It's the problem of thinking that you're taking from my country and ultimately my kid, because they're cutting back. And when they cut back, people say, well, where the fuck are you spending my taxes? Because my taxes are going up and my services are going down. And then they say, he went to the hospital for bloody nose. She had 5 kids when she wasn't legal and I had to pay for it. He's getting English. And you know what? She's sending money home. Do you understand why American people could look at you and be pissed off? It's not because you're darker than me. I'm just telling you how it is.
Times are changing.
Yeah, those are gone. We would love to have you here. We just want you here for the right reason.
The right reason, absolutely.
That's it.
That's it. I always say, if you don't feel you want to be American, get out of here.
Claro.
You have to be a part of this.
You realize you're saying that to him, though. And he's okay with it.
Yeah.
Much better.
Dennis Lynch is in studio on the All New Morning Show with Anthony. The topic is illegal immigration. Tell me about Maurizio.
He's the image you get when you think of, illegal immigrant. So you live in a house,
Yeah.
and you have one room in that house.
Yes.
So it's 7 men, your wife,
Yeah.
and the baby.
Yes.
Does your wife get scared about being in the house with those men?
Sometimes she have to cry because we don't have another place to live.
She cries?
Yeah.
Do the men get angry when the baby's crying?
Yeah, sometimes.
They do?
Yeah. Where I lived before, they are very young.
Really?
Yeah. Last month.
Last
so
month?
now it's my first rain.
So you moved?
Yeah, moved now.
Because they got upset
3
with the
days
baby?
ago I moved.
2 days ago?
Yeah.
Do the men in the house that you're with, are they drinking beer, cabeza?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah?
they bring.
Yeah. Do you like that with the baby being around?
Oh, no, like me, don't like drink,
No.
but
Do
you know.
you ever fighting with them or no?
Oh, no.
No?
No. I can't fight here.
You feel like you can't defend yourself because you could be deported?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much does it cost you, dinero, for rent in that one room?
Oh, 800.
$800 a month?
Yes.
For one room?
Yes.
There's the money and the jobs and the healthcare and the schools, but there's a human component here. I got that from Mauricio. In trying to ask this kid questions about how did you get here and what are you doing with your money and are you sending it back and how much money does your father have because his father was here for 12 years. I learned about this guy as a person.
She like talking with me on phone. I call, she say,
Hi. You're so happy.
Yeah.
She's so happy. Do you stay in here for most of the day?
Yeah, she don't understand very
All right,
well.
so you could translate.
Yeah. Tú estás aquí todo el tiempo.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that hard?
Es duro para ti?
Yes.
Yeah, very hard. Yeah.
What I didn't expect to get attached to this kid.
You got close to him.
Yeah.
What do you love the most in the whole world?
Oh, my daughter.
Your daughter.
Yeah. Daughter, I have a good life,
You want her to have a good life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so pretty.
I mean, I wanted to provide this guy shelter for him and his daughter, who's an American citizen.
And I just never have been able to finish it. But I make you a deal. I'll pay for all the material. But you fix this place up. And you move in here with your baby.
Okay, yeah, really. I can't fix my wife, I'm very happy.
Yeah?
I'm very happy.
She'll be happy?
Yeah.
There are people I interviewed, they don't want to be Americans.
Happy birthday, Mauricio.
Sing
happy birthday.
Here's a case where a kid does want to be American.
Did you make a wish?
Thank you.
So in America, when we blow out the candles,
Yeah.
you make a wish, and your wish is supposed to come true. What's your wish? Yeah, you can make it now.
My papers, maybe.
Your papers?
Yeah.
I have a friend right now who is considering allowing an illegal to live in an apartment he owns.
And he knows this guy's illegal.
Yeah.
I hate to spout law, but under Title 8 of the United States Code 1324, that's harboring.
I didn't know this was the law before I started the film, so what am I going to do now?
Would you get a haircut? Did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh my. I'd put the hat back on too.
I think this is a kid who could add value to America, and I want to try to help him
What's
out.
your vetting process?
I don't have one.
Then you
I'm
shouldn't
using
be-
my gut.
Yeah, but wait a
What
minute.
happens to me if I get caught?
Oh, you're looking at criminal charges. Let me explain, and rightfully
How long is the criminal
so.
charges?
It depends on the way it's prosecuted and what the judge does. But let me explain something to you. You don't know what anybody does 5 minutes before you see them or 5 minutes after they leave you. And you know what we were finding? Members of MS-13 taking those jobs during the day, working as baggers in supermarkets, doing all those scut jobs, all those menial jobs. And at night, they'd be hanging out with their buddies, slashing and robbing and selling drugs. And you'd have no idea. They'd be nice as hell. And we had day laborers who were being parts of robbery teams working throughout the whole Eastern Seaboard, where women were killed, women were raped. You're letting people into your home without vetting them. That's dangerous. And you know what boggles my mind? America's letting people in without vetting them.
You must have been nervous kind of having somebody you don't know at your home.
No, I wasn't. I was more afraid of incriminating myself. So I told Mauricio, you can't live here and I can't pay you. But I'll tell you what, my daughter is 3 years old. I'll give you the crib. I'll give you the toys. You be a friend and help me, and I'll be a friend and I'll help you. I figured bad guys don't agree to that sort of thing.
Mauricio.
Yeah.
Do they have, you know what carpenter's crack is?
What's carpenter's crack?
You're pretty good at it. They didn't teach you that in school?
Oh, no.
No carpenter's crack?
No. Oh, crackers?
No, not crackers. Carpenter's crack.
Oh, no crack.
I show you what carpenter's crack is. Ready? I show you. Right there? That's carpenter's crack. Okay? That's carpenter's crack.
Oh.
Yeah.
Close it up. You got to close the border up, just like any other country does. Mexico's got a border, got a fence going up to Guatemala. Nobody says nothing about that. Israel's surrounded by a wall. Even heaven's got a gate.
I think a lot of us thought that when 9/11 happened, that Congress would finally get serious about at least enforcing immigration laws, and which is not just keeping illegals out of the country, but paying attention who you allow in legally.
Guess how many agents around the country are looking for perhaps 5 million or more people who have violated the terms of their admission? 272. How serious are we?
Let's narrow
People
that
who
down.
came into the country on a tourist or employment or other visa and overstayed their visa did not commit a crime and have not committed a crime.
The terrorists who attacked our nation on 9/11 were all visa violators. But I'll be very honest. From a perspective of immigration and national security, in some ways it's my judgment we are worse today than we were on September the 10th, 2001.
If you speak to an American about 9/11, everybody's voice kind of comes down a little bit, and there's always a sense of sorrow. If you speak to somebody about 9/11 who was actually downtown at the buildings when they collapsed, you get a little bit of a different sense of sorrow.
Right.
I'm one of those people. I'm one of the people you saw running from those towers. And I always come away feeling that the only way that you can really understand what that morning was like was if you were down there.
Right.
So how can I do a movie about illegal immigration unless I went down to the fence, down to the border, and really felt this from every perspective? I really wanted to feel it. So we lived down on that border for 3 days. I had no idea what we were in for.
You should always strive for center mass.
Always go for the body?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Because if they just duck a little bit when they're moving, you're not going to hit them.
Right.
I mean, we stayed right outside a drug cartel where guys are up in the trees with machine guns.
You faced the drug cartel?
Yeah, yeah. There are people moving around back and forth feet from our border. Places where cops will not go.
We've got 4 cameras on the ranch. We've got street lights for 4 miles. And the street lights help the illegals. You know, it's lit up. I mean, they don't have to stumble around in the dark. They know exactly where to put the ladder up. And we don't have any agents to watch them put the ladder up. It's just, it's past being a joke. It's deliberate. That's one of the things that you guys have to prove with filming it, is there isn't any agents up here right now, and they don't put any agents up there. But if you had agents up there, this wall would work better.
Did you have to jump a fence, or did you just walk over?
No, I didn't jump a fence. There was no fences. There's only fences in a couple places.
Was there any border patrol, any police on America's side when you went over?
No.
No?
No, see nothing.
Did you go into Arizona?
Yeah.
There's somebody behind you. ¿Cómo está?
You know, never once in the 3 days that we were down there had we ever seen any helicopters or airplanes, government issued. Not a one. Were you scared?
Oh, yeah.
What were you scared of?
Something, you know. You never know what happens in there.
Did you ever think that you were going to die?
Yeah, I think.
Did you have any family with you, or were you all by yourself?
Oh, just me.
Just you?
Yeah.
And you went in, with a pack of how many people? The coyote let how many people?
20.
20 people?
Mm-hmm.
There is a sense that something at any moment can and will go wrong when you are down on that border. It's unnerving.
Well, here it is, Mexa Boot Company.
Yeah, I mean, what size is that? That's got to probably
Oh,
be...
that was one of the little... They bring a lot of kids in through here.
Yeah.
Lots of babies. That's not unusual. Why would they die only that far from the border? Because they're trying to outrun somebody, and the mafiosos want them to keep up, so they load them with speed, and they overexert themselves and drop.
Unfortunately, drugs are not going to stop coming because, unfortunately, Americans love drugs.
It's not good that your state is perceived as being hostile to people who are foreign-born and are immigrants. And it comes because people are afraid of change, and they're afraid of you know, what America's going to look like in the future.
Look, you know, there's some people who just see you guys on television, and you know, it's a real cowboy kind of setting here, and they say you're just racists, you know, and you just you wheeling your gun, and you see these guys coming over, and they're not white, and you just.
That's a bunch of bunk. That is absolutely ridiculous. You know, that's a picture that some people have tried to paint, but it's completely wrong.
Illegals are humans too. I get that. And I have fed and taken care of more than most people can even imagine.
60 Minutes came out, set up their cameras, and they started focusing on the weapon that I had. I had a 38 on my belt. And I said, let's just look at this thing. You're so damn interested in the weapon. And I emptied out the shell, and they're all shot shells for snakes. I said, I'm not out to kill anybody, but that's all they could focus on was the gun first. That's what they wanted to focus on.
You want to know why? I can tell you why.
Oh, of course.
Because that's great TV.
Oh, you bet.
These people can't go anywhere. These are their homes. These are their businesses. They're ranchers. They depend on that land. And they are fighting this war every single day. You cannot understand what they are going up against unless you live it. Have you seen a lot of illegals cross your property?
Oh, absolutely.
We caught 100 in 24 hours within a mile and a half of the house.
When you say caught, what do you mean by caught?
I mean, rode up on them, there they are. We call the Border Patrol, they come get them.
They do.
I can't go feed my animals at the barn without taking a firearm with me. And I might, you know, maybe there'll be 10 of them asleep in the barn. And I have 2 grandchildren that live on the ranch too.
When we come home, we clear the house. We go around, make sure no windows are broken. Go inside with a gun, clear every room. Make sure nobody's in the house. How many people in America have to do that?
You know, the federal government isn't going to help you much either. Right where we're sitting right here, John was standing here with the border patrolman. Shots were starting to get fired down in Naco on the Mexican side. And what did the radio say? Pull back away from the border to Highway 92. Border Patrol and the guard pulls back to 92, leaves John and his family sitting here, in between them. That's wonderful.
Are you shitting me?
No, I'm not shitting you.
Hell, they killed 20-something people down in Cananea.
Burglary, threats, you know, our friend was murdered. Everyone I know. I do not know anybody that hasn't had an incident.
I graduated from UCLA, and I have a degree in psychology.
So therefore, can I ask you, are you nuts?
I am not nuts.
Are you a racist?
I am definitely not a racist.
How can you say you're not a racist?
I'm not. My stepdad's Mexican. Some of my best friends are of different ethnicities.
Do you belong to like any crazy extremist groups or anything like that?
No. I'm a soccer mom. Okay guys, dinner's almost ready, okay?
Tucson is 90 miles away from the border, so why do you feel, why do you need to go down to the border?
I'm worried about the safety of my children. The immigrants that are coming up now that are illegal, it's not just the migrant workers. You know, it's the criminal element. And it's becoming worse. And Tucson's rated one of the most dangerous cities in the country now. I don't know how it got there.
Clearly, our federal government has a constitutional responsibility to defend our homeland and protect it against incursion of any kind. It has failed to do that. What is wrong with this picture? Here you have the Ladd Ranch. Right next, you can see a Border Patrol station. You have a fence, you have cameras, you have lights. And yet every week, John's taking pictures out of his kitchen window of illegals and dope smugglers.
My husband's 51, and 3 months ago he was a dental lab tech. And now he's with the National Guard on the border.
Full-time?
Full-time.
Why did he do that?
You know, we live in a world that's changing. And when this opportunity came up, that's what he felt he could do, to take steps to help. You know, if our government isn't doing it, we as Americans need to do it.
People ask me, do you believe it can be done? I say, believe it, hell, I've seen it done. When the Minutemen were here in April of 2005, in this stretch of the border, there was not a single illegal crossing, not one. And it's because the Minutemen were watching the border, volunteers, people with good hearts. Border Patrol was watching the Minutemen watch the border. Sheriff was watching Border Patrol watch the Minutemen watch the border. ACLU was watching all of us. The Mexican government was over there keeping people from coming across because they didn't want an event.
Not one.
It can be done.
Not one.
Not one.
How many cameras do you have out throughout the trails?
From time to time, the most I've ever had is probably 30.
How much money does that cost you to set all this stuff up?
Maybe $30,000.
So you took $30,000 of your own money, planted cameras around, so this way the American people could watch this and get a better sense for what it is really going on?
That's right.
If a Latino illegally crossed the border and they were by themselves and they fell down on your property, just dying of thirst, what would you do first? Would you call the sheriff or would you go get them a bottle of water?
I've helped a lot of them.
So you give them the water?
Sure. I've been outdoors, I've hiked and hunted all my life. I know what it's like to be thirsty. I know what it's like to be hurting bad. I mean, that has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it.
What does it have to do with?
It has to do with enforcing our laws and keeping our country and our state here in some form of balance that we grew up accustomed to and that I've paid taxes all my life to support and went to Vietnam to support. It has to do with what's right and fair for the people that made this country.
And there's always going to be a way. Just make a tunnel. There's a wall, you make a tunnel. There's, there's always a way.
But would you say that you would have had to work harder?
Yeah, definitely you want to have to work harder.
Then you got something to grab onto.
Yeah, but even the slant. How do you grab onto the slant?
Well, that's true. I didn't realize it was slanted.
Do you support the fence?
I don't think it's going to be very effective. Like it or not, borders between states are really irrelevant, and increasingly between countries are less significant.
You build a double fence.
Okay.
Go take a look at Yuma, what they did there. They have double fence with a hard pan road between the two fences for quick and easy access for law enforcement to respond. It works. They reduced illegal crossings down there by 95%.
When you were in Mexico, you said that there were only parts with fence.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Of the people that you know in Mexico who came over, let's say, for instance, there was 100 people that you know.
Yeah.
If there was 2,000 miles of fence, there was not a place to get through that fence. How many of those people do you still think would have found a way if there was a big fence?
I would say probably like 5.
No way?
Nope.
If you want to have a fence work, you got to have people watching it.
What they built is they built these enormous fences in certain locations, and they do work in town where they have people watching the fence.
If you were to jog a 5-mile path, in 5 miles, you've got 1 Border Patrol, 2 Border Patrol, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 Border Patrol within a 5-mile circle.
But as soon as you get to the end of the fence, and there's always big gaps in the fence, very often there's nothing. I can take you to places where it's 25 and 30 miles where there's nothing but a little 3-foot tall vehicle barrier.
If I were to run 5 miles right now, how many Border Patrol do we see?
Right. Or at night.
Well, yeah, nighttime. There's no lights. We had all those lights all in the place where the town is. There's no lights here. If I'm going to jump over the fence, this is where I'm going to jump. So do you think we could possibly have another 9/11 instead of people coming in through airplanes? They're coming in through the border?
Well, yeah. Who says they didn't come from here to start with? 2 of them took flight training here.
Cochise College.
Yeah. Well, the other problem that hadn't been discussed is the OTMs, other than Mexicans. And that's what's coming across the border in numbers that nobody will fess up to. My neighbor found a Koran in a backpack. Another friend of mine found a prayer rug. A rancher friend of mine over east of Douglas had 10 Chinese come into his ranch. There's lots and lots of OTMs coming across the border.
That's why it's not a race issue, because it isn't about one race, it's about people coming here illegally.
I mean, you look at the fence that we have when all the Border Patrol are around. They're all around the spots where the fence is. And then when there is no fence, little barbed wire. We're playing around like kids, jumping into Mexico and back to America.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, you could just move the fence out of the way a little bit, Dennis.
What's that?
just kind of move the fence out of the way a little bit.
There was no border patrol. There was nobody coming by telling us, hey, you know, it was a dangerous area.
Let's put that back. We don't want any mistakes.
But when we drove by the fence, lickety split. They were right there for us. They were there asking us, "What are you doing here?" What, you know, I had more people question me what I was doing on American soil with a camera.
And your name's Dennis?
Dennis, and the last name is Lynch.
Okay, L-Y-N-C-H?
Correct.
Okay. All right, and
is this in case I don't come back?
Are
we in a spot we're not supposed to be? I mean,
they're just verifying that you guys have permission to be out here. So.
All right.
So yeah, just hold on 1 second.
Yep. You have this rolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good too. Because I'm going to ask him, but wait, we permission to have. We're in America. Actually, you know what? I'll go outside the car. Yeah.
I've had cameras in the Huachuca Mountains for 2 years. In that time, I don't have one park ranger in the picture. And a Border Patrol agent maybe once a month.
You know, between you and I don't know why I wouldn't be allowed to be here anyway. I mean, it's U.S. territory, right?
Has anybody from the Border Patrol contacted you to see your tapes or to use you as a resource?
No.
What else do you need me to tell you? Oh, it's on illegal immigration. A specific topic more than illegal immigration? Can you give me an example?
Not the Border Patrol. They don't like me. They will make an attempt to block traffic from my cameras if they find my cameras. Not to stop the traffic, but to keep it from being exposed.
Why do you think they do that?
You tell me.
Makes no sense.
No.
I'm not looking to be sarcastic with you whatsoever, but illegal immigration, I don't know how you want me to dig in any deeper than that. What time do these lights go on and showing the coverage at nighttime?
You know, I'm not really supposed to talk to you. You have to talk to my supervisor.
If I want to catch somebody jumping over, probably stay where you're not.
Yeah.
All right. So so then in terms of danger,
just don't get too close to the fence. Kind of gets nasty on the other side of this.
What you're looking at right over there, right, those white buildings, they call it Los Corrales. It is a cartel, drug cartel headquarters for distribution of drugs in this area. And I will tell you, you go near there, you're dead. You're dead.
And when you say go near there, what do you mean?
Just approach it.
If I went down to where those tree lines start.
And you walk toward there,
yeah,
you wouldn't make it.
I'll just get hit by a random
That's
bullet.
correct. So this has been a major smuggling corridor, but we have a camera that watches it. They put the drugs on, they move them right in there. Then they move them along the border, coming right over this short fence. They bring them right across this ranch here.
If we were to stay out here overnight, how dangerous is it?
Then this is the most dangerous place you can be, because they can come right here from Mexico through the end of that fence, kill us, right? Slaughter all of us, and be back in Mexico. Do you think anything would happen to them? Absolutely not. That's how risky it is.
Did he take you to a house by the border?
Yeah, it's like a rancho.
Okay, what was going on in that house?
Oh, yeah, that house, they show how we're gonna do. They show everything.
So they prepared you?
Yeah,
for your
they
journey?
prepare. Yeah.
Okay.
That's.
Did they have guns?
Yeah.
What kind?
I don't know how to say what kind of guns. Strong guns.
Strong guns? You mean like machine guns?
Yeah, like
the big ones?
Yeah, big ones. No, it's like that, but has a.
Oh, with
yeah.
Like an Uzi.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So we were gonna go towards that cartel spot. We were told that building is a cartel, that we should stay away from it.
They have some connection. Well, that house is pretty close. Don't go straight. There's guys watching sometimes from the trees up there.
So there's guys watching from the trees?
Yeah, just like lookouts, you know.
Yeah, lookouts.
So yeah, it's not a good idea to camp out right in there.
All right, well, I'm going to go where I think they're going to jump the fence, and that is where there is no fence.
It's up to you guys, man. You know, if something could happen, it's
up in arms.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Thank you.
All right, well, you guys be safe.
How dangerous would you say that is for civilians to be over by there?
That close to the border, I would say extremely.
Even if you're on American territory?
Absolutely.
Why? What would you think they're capable of doing if they just saw people walking around there?
It could be numerous things. It could be kidnapping. It could be shot with a high-powered rifle. It all depends on who's running it. They go through different cartels. Some are a lot more violent than others. If they thought that somebody, even if it was on this size, posed a serious threat, I don't think they would hesitate. And to them, a threat could be something as simple as there's a vehicle driving close to there. We're not familiar with it. It's at a time that we're not comfortable with. You know.
And they just come and apprehend, and that's it.
Could.
Yeah. Would they? Do you think that they would have the cojones, so to say, to cross over 5 feet, 10 feet into the border and grab you and pull you back?
Absolutely. We've all seen in the papers before where there's been incursions into the U.S. and those are probably ones that are reported. I'm sure they happen quite often that the American public doesn't know about.
I'm thinking of. I'll just be straight out with you. I'm thinking about going as close as I possibly can with my camera.
Okay.
What do you think?
I wouldn't recommend it.
No?
I wouldn't recommend it, no. I've been through that area before. I happened to go through there when there was a bunch of gentlemen on the south side in camouflage with fully automatic weapons and black balaclavas. I didn't know if they were law enforcement or who they were, and it made me extremely uncomfortable, and I'm in law enforcement.
Did you have a gun?
Absolutely.
And you still felt nervous?
Still felt nervous and got out of the area.
Was that at daytime or night?
Daytime.
And what do you think it gets worse at night? Like if I went at night and they couldn't see me, what do you think?
Under the cover of darkness, who knows what happens? So I would think that you've probably got more manpower, more individuals out there at nighttime, yes.
So it's between 50 and 60 people. Well, you might have some action here. I don't see any Border Patrol down there.
What?
I think we've got a Mexican standoff. Nobody wants to make the first move.
Run! What the fuck?
Come on, Rory. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Come on. Have some action over there. They've got their lights going.
Dude, get the fuck out of here, seriously. There's no coming, there's no coming. Go! Go, man, go! Don't worry about what's behind you, go! Be careful, Dennis. Just don't turn that fucking camera off. All right, I'm not turning the fucking camera off. I'm not turning the fucking camera off. Shut up, stop up, shut up. Oh my God. Fuck! Hold on! Shit! Dude, there's no coming.
If somebody would have grabbed us and taken us, you would have never have heard from us again. It's that simple.
This is where you went.
This is where we went.
Why?
I'm still not sure why it is that we did it.
If you asked me to come with you, I would say no very quickly.
It proves we can't have ranchers defending America's border. And yet they live like that every day, every single day.
The Border Patrol can't get it through their head that they should be in a preventive mode and prevent the invasion rather than repelling the invasion after they're here. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to come up with metrics to say they've got so many apprehensions, they've got so many seizures, they've got so many rescues, so that they can show that they're doing something.
Hey, we don't have the Border Patrol on the border. Put it that way, just flat out, not enough. They're too far back.
Let me give you a few sleepless nights. These checkpoints are the last line of defense for the Border Patrol. So the Government Accountability Office goes in and does a complete assessment. The report says that the Border Patrol overstates their performance levels at these checkpoints. They also state that 70% of illegal crossings go undetected. What's even scarier, in 2008, the Border Patrol says that they stopped 3 known terrorists and 530 people who are somehow linked to countries that we consider a national threat.
Okay, so we have 20 people, right?
Yeah.
You're saying 20 people?
Yeah.
So this way, are you guys laying on top of each other?
Yeah.
You're hard. You're laying on
Yeah,
top because I
one-
can't even draw 20 circles.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so you're laying on top of each other. Now, you take the marker and you show me where it is that that's covered.
Oh, the cover is here. Like that.
So the cop just pulled him over, and that was it.
just ask the driver. No more. No, see.
And he said, okay, go ahead, go.
Okay, no asks nothing.
How hard is it to find 20 people tucked in a van? You know and I know that that truck is going to be like this.
GAO has reported that 44% of the border is somewhat secure, 56% is not secure. Do you agree with that statistic?
It is not an accurate statement, no. It's a very different border than it was even 3 or 4 years ago.
I agree, it's worse.
I would say it is very secure.
I say this, we will tell you when you have achieved that. You're not telling us.
We could be setting ourselves up for another 9/11 because it is so easy to get into this country.
Right now, human smuggling and drug smuggling, the two have merged because there's a lot of money involved. We're talking millions of dollars. The humans are being smuggled or brought into Arizona, just like they do the drugs, the same corridor, into Phoenix. They put them in drop houses. And from there, once they get to the drop houses, they've already got like $5,000 out per person back in Mexico.
Just to get them to
Just
the
to
house.
get there. Then what they do when they get there, and they don't tell them that till they get there, is they want maybe another $2,000 or $3,000, sometimes $6,000 more from their relatives. And once they get that money, then they disperse out.
If your father did not send that money, what would happen?
Oh, nothing. You have to stay. Maybe my father pay. My father maybe take 3 months. You have to stay 3 months in there.
You have to stay in that house for 3 months.
Yeah.
If right now a whole load of drugs were being smuggled, with bodies being smuggled,
I'd be hiding.
We'd be hiding.
I would.
This is in Phoenix. This is near Phoenix.
This is in Phoenix. This is out, just to the outskirts of town.
So this huge, city. Okay.
Millions of people.
Because I would be afraid I would get shot. I think it's that dangerous out in this area now.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I believe it.
So if there are ladies that came through the desert,
Mm-hmm.
like you did, when they get to that house, they get raped,
Yeah.
and the men try to have sex with them, force them?
Yeah.
Do the ladies cry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? And now, can you do anything about that? Can you do
No,
anything?
you
try to
can
help
do
them?
nothing. Just see because.
Because what?
You can do nothing.
You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Now,
Because you same problem. If you do something, maybe they kill.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. Right there.
Travel caution. Smuggling and illegal immigration may be encountered in this area.
Yeah.
And it's like, where am I? I'm in Phoenix.
Right.
It's like you're in some third world country. It's absolutely absurd that this would be on U.S. soil.
This is the area where the deputy was shot at by some drug smugglers over there almost by Interstate 8.
Now, Rory is off shooting cactus. Or is it cacti? I don't know what you say. He's off shooting this stuff for B-roll.
Right.
And as we're sitting there talking to the sheriff, I can see off to the distance, 2 miles away, dust coming up from what is obviously trucks.
Like a truck. Okay.
And now, we escaped the first thing in Arizona. I don't want to try to,
Right.
do it twice.
Right.
You carrying right now by any chance?
No.
All right. Neither am I. So without getting dramatic, okay? If right now we got stuck in that sand pile, are you saying we're fucked?
Just about.
These guys are right behind us. We're flying through because we're afraid that drug and human traffickers are going to take us out.
Right. Who knows what's in that van?
When you came over through Mexico and you went through Arizona, did you carry any drugs?
No.
Sure?
Sure.
Why did you think about it for a second?
Two vans.
There were two vans. And I can tell you what was in those vans. There were people in those vans. When it was time to kind of come to an end with this, I had to bring Mauricio my end of the bargain. So we packed up the car and we went to his house, and I was told he's no longer there.
Oh, really?
The kid's just gone. And aside from not feeling like I could hold my end of the bargain, you know, the real thing that got me, he is a person I really came to care about. And I don't even know if his real name is Mauricio.
Never occurred to me. So this is how the story between you and Mauricio...
It's how it ends.
There's no ending.
This is the situation by millions.
This country was founded by people who weren't thinking about just right now. I mean, they constantly talked about posterity. They thought about what would happen with their grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren. And we've had 40 years of mass immigration. We've matched the only other long period, the Great Wave, which was 100 years ago. And this country was a mess by the end of that Great Wave. But once they brought the numbers down to a traditional level, everybody in this country, including the recent immigrants, saw their lives improve.
All right, last question. You went through a lot of unique experiences. I mean, sleeping next to Rory could not have been an easy thing to go through.
No.
What's the one thing that you will always remember from this whole process?
Wow. Good question. You know, when we were in Arizona, I told these guys to go home on the plane. I needed to drive the country by myself.
Really?
Yeah. I just needed it. I just needed it. Because when you do a film like this, it just feels like there's no winner in the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish I could say that there's a winner. And so as I'm driving home, I'm going through Colorado, and I came to one of those towns where there's, you know, one light, one intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a man standing in this unbelievably cold weather, and he's holding a sign barely. I mean, he's shivering to the point of where it was like, you know, I get upset right now thinking about it. And it says, "I need work of any kind."
What's your name?
My name's Kenneth Krawchuk.
Okay, and what happened? What happened to you?
Well, I ran out of work, and I've been trying to get work all over the city, and I couldn't get any work, so I come out and hold a sign out on the highway, and I seem to pick odd jobs here and there,
yeah,
to try and get by. I'm living out in the desert out here without any power or any water. I live in a camp out in the desert, so I try and get enough together so I could have a home.
What kind of jobs do you usually take on?
I do any kind of work, yard cleaning, painting, drywalling, you know, but we don't. They get other people from other country and give them the jobs.
But I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, this just isn't happening in Miami and in New York and California. And this is happening in a town with one blinking light. That guy represented everything about why it is that this can no longer be ignored. We can't have Americans sleeping in the snow because they cannot find work. We can't have people continuing to struggle and living as if America was now a third world nation, whether that's somebody like the man holding the sign or 20 people living in a house at a time. or a man who can't go in and get a cup of coffee from 7-Eleven because he's been protesting on the sidewalk peacefully. So that is what I will take away for the rest of my life, will be the image of that man, hoping that, you know, he didn't die on that particular night or the next night. You know, that's really it.
Wow.
Okay, my friend, tell me what you see.
Lights of Miami.
No, what you really see are the lights of Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela.
But whenever there is a, economic constraint, then population tends to blame it on the newcomers. This time it's us. This time it's us.
Paraguay, Uruguay, Ecuador.
I have a Hispanic heritage, I'm an American, but yet I feel second class, like a second class citizen.
Mexico, Puerto Rico, Chile.
Little 17 and 18-year-old Americans would step up to the plate and really work hard for their money instead of thinking everything should be gifted to them just because they're American. Then I think we wouldn't have this situation because every job would be filled.
Have you ever, one time in 5 years, ever seen a 15-year-old boy, American boy, ever mowing his own lawn? No. Never once. Never.
You know that American people say, okay, give me $10,000 and I get married with you.
It's 15,000.
15?
Okay. Yes, 15,000.
Sorry, I was...
15,000 and they pay.
Let me tell you, I've gotten married, it's cost me millions. 15,000? Sign me up.
Imagine calling the police and saying there's a burglar in my house, but he's upstairs, and they would say, well, I'm sorry about that, sir. He's now yours. You have to adopt him and his family and pay his medical bills and educate his children. This is crazy stuff.
If you want me to pay taxes, you gotta give me something, or let me pay them. If you don't let me pay them, I won't pay them.
What do I do with the 12 million people that are in my country undocumented right now?
Kick them out.
If America was to grant you citizenship, what would Americans get as a return on their investment?
We would be giving back, and most of us here want nothing more than to give back to our communities.
The American people have stopped making the politicians accountable by not being involved. More people know who's winning Dancing with the Stars and who represents them in Congress.
A town team, baseball team, we had our own little team, and our best pitcher was from Mexico, and he was illegally, and he worked for a farm, and he got deported. He got picked up one time on Friday, got deported back to Mexico, and he's back on the mound pitching for us Saturday.
We have an open door for anybody who wants to bring anything into the United States, a wide open door, and the odds are 3 to 1 that they'll get through and be in any city in the U.S. within 3 days.
I'm asked constantly now that I finished this film, so what's the solution? You know, the solution, before we get that, the first thing we have to do, I'm coming to America,
Right.
got a dream to make it there.
Right.
You know, we've got to instill that back in here.
What happened to the day when both sides of the aisle, red and blue, Democrat, Republican, would actually meet and talk and resolve issues? That we have a common goal to make this better. This is my theory, this is my theory. Let's look at the facts. Which one fit the better? Which one do we get rid of? And how do we make it better? Isn't the goal to make us the best country in the world?